So, riddle me this. What do you get when you have strong female lead characters, eccentric, flamboyant characters to add on to that, plus a kind of Hitchcockian, twist and turns plot? You get a Pedro Almodovar movie, of course, and Parallel Mothers is no exception to that recipe.
That was a masterpiece. I mean, I'm going to give it 5 reels for sure. What?
Now, before we get into our review of Parallel Mothers, we would like to ask you guys to please subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, hit the bell button so that you'll get a notification every time we upload a video. And also check us out on social media, guys. We're on Facebook and TikTok at Real Screeners and Instagram real.screeners.
We would also love for you to check out our merchandise at realscreeners.com, where we have the latest, most unique, most awesome mashup movie apparel, comic books, movies from the 80s.
We actually do, guys.
That we love. Okay, so check that out.
And we love it.
Okay, so back to Parallel Mothers, our latest review. We actually had no idea what we wanted to review this week because January is such a slow month for movies. And so, hey, this was playing at the Alamo Drafthouse, and so we decided, why not? This is, Pedro Almodovar is an auteur. He really is. He's a well-known, well-respected director, probably Spain's, greatest film director.
Super artistic, has some strong feminine themes in his movies.
Absolutely, yeah. And this is his 8th collaboration with Penelope Cruz. And so I suggested it. We watched it. And of course, it felt like a Pedro Almodovar movie. You can tell that Penelope Cruz and Almodovar have worked together before. What Almodovar does is that he actually takes the time to really think about how the camera angles, the camera movements can capture her facial expressions, her movements in a way where, she is really the star of this movie.
Right.
So
and since you're talking about techniques, and we'll just kind of get this part out of the way, they do a really good job with the set designs, with the rule of thirds, negative space, all that kind of stuff to really accentuate not just the environment, but to also kind of send through certain messages. I'm not going to give anything away, and also to kind of really accentuate the moods. So
a lot of visual storytelling. So in Parallel Mothers, you have Cruz playing Janice.
No, sir, senor. It's Janith.
Oh, Janith, of course, because this is a Spanish movie.
This is de España.
Es España.
Sí.
And you have Milena Smith playing Anna. And, this movie basically is all about motherhood, I would say, and friendship. Those are
parentage.
The two. And parentage. Yes, of course. So you have these two pregnant women. They meet at the hospital the day that they're giving birth. Penelope Cruz's character is in her 40s.
Well, she's supposed to be like right at 40 or right about to hit 40. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Anna is actually very young. I think she's like 17.
Something like that. She's an adolescent for sure.
And so they're both about to give birth, and they bond over being mothers, new mothers, and that's where the story kind of takes off.
Twist.
I think that to add any more would probably ruin some aspects of this movie. Maybe not.
I don't think so, because they throw it in so early in the movie, and the conflict is built around that. So I think it's safe to say that there is a mix up at the hospital, and there's some maternity tests going on, and then therein lies the conflict. Okay, without giving away too much.
Too much, right? Okay, so this movie focuses a lot on what it means to be a parent, what it means to be a mother, how women bond over motherhood, and it kind of juxtaposes that with this history, this tumultuous history of Spain, focusing on the Spanish Civil War, which is where the movie kind of takes an interesting word. Yeah, I guess it becomes more thoughtful, and
I would say that's where it actually deviates to a completely different.
I knew you were going to say that, because I feel like you felt that it was a detriment. But when the movie ended, I did feel a sort of disconnect between the story of these mothers, the mix-up that they go through, and this side story about the Spanish Civil War and just Spain's history. But I kind of thought about it, and what I the way that I connected it was that lineage is important, and that history does have an impact, and that your parents do have an impact, and history, the idea of loss in general, basically, is what I'm getting at. I think connects those two things together.
Before I tack on to that, I do want to give you guys just a little bit of context. Is at the very beginning, Penelope Cruz is getting some help from a guy who's going to help them through a society, kind of exhume these mass unmarked graves that were suspected of being created during the Spanish Civil War by some fascists, right?
Right.
And so they plopped that in the beginning of the movie, and I kind of felt like it was a plot device because throughout the majority of the movie, it's in a sense kind of forgotten. But then the third act comes, and then you shift from the main conflict between the two women, and it goes straight into that historical journey.
That. Right.
It sure does. And so,
but it does it at a point in the movie where I feel it makes sense after thinking about it. It does, because these women are experiencing pain because of a situation, a terrible situation that they went through. And I feel like that is why Almodovar brought in the loss of these, Civil War families,
Right.
The movie does end kind of with a gut punch a little bit, I feel. I thought it was, it was clever.
It is clever, and it's artistic.
It's artistic and clever.
It's kind of hard not to give anything away. I would say that it was a good message as far as how they took that historical moment, put it into the context of these women's lives, and then ended it with, like you said, like a gut punch message. However, my thought was that it felt very disconnected from the main part of the movie, and I felt like it could have been a separate movie on its own. It was, and of course, this is not an American-made movie, right? So it's gonna be different, and it's gonna be his baby.
You know what? I'm still not 100% convinced if it works or not, but it's interesting. It's definitely an interesting watch.
And you know what? That is the good cinephile in you, because you're trying to piece together this guy's thinking as for this movie. So that's good, but I don't want to rehash too much, but just to let you know that it does connect to Penelope Cruz, because it has something to do with her great grandfather, him being one of the people that they suspect is in those mass graves. So there is a connection there. But anyway, I will just say that it was the weirdest thing in shift I've ever seen in a movie. Not gonna lie.
I understand exactly where you're coming from. I felt the same way. What really anchors this movie for me is that the interaction between these two actresses and the dialogue is very nuanced, very organic, very natural. I think that these are two very strong performances for sure.
I think there was buzz that Cruz might be getting an Oscar
nomination, maybe an Oscar nomination for this. And I mean, she's done such great work before in other Almodovar movies like Volver. There's other ones, but anyway,
I think it's time for us to get to our real ratings.
Sure, let's get to it.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll go and start first. I do want to build off of something you said earlier. You're talking about these women dealing with loss and maybe not having the best parentage, either because their parents weren't the best, or because like the great grandfathers, and they mention it with some other villagers, that how they were taken away by the fascists, all that kind of stuff. But my point here is that those losses that those women experience, they turn those tragedies into triumph, so to speak, to become better people, to grow, and ultimately to be better parents, actually. And I think that's kind of what ties a lot of these two plots together. What you and I just discussed. So
yeah.
So anyway,
I mean, definitely, yeah.
Sorry, my real rating. I forgot.
Yeah, what is it?
No, I'll go ahead and say, honestly, I recognize everything that's beautiful about this movie, but that third act threw it out the window for me, so to speak, because of how it was just such a jolt. So I'm going to give it 3 stars out of 5, man. It's not something I'm going to revisit. I just didn't. I was like, where are you going with this?
Well, I mean, I understand and get that. I really, really feel like there's some good themes in here, some good statements to make, and something that's different, something that's not necessarily the mainstream that you watch all the time. I'm tired of all these sequels sequels, all this rehashing of plots, all these rehashing of superheroes, even though I love superhero movies. I am very much excited when something different, something that's gonna like make you go, what? Like, what am I watching? You know, comes up. And so for all the reasons that I mentioned before and what anchors this movie, I will give this 3.5. Actually, no, sorry. I will give this 4.5 reels out of 5.
Okay. One last thing, guys. I think some of the best parts of this movie are things we haven't even touched on because they are spoilers. So I do want to mention that, guys.
If you're a fan of Almodovar, or if you want to leave any comments or thoughts below, please let us know what you think. We will surely respond to you.
And as I said in the beginning, we'll definitely talk to you guys on social media. So again, Facebook and TikTok at Real Screeners, Instagram real.screeners, and of course, plugging in our realscreeners.com store, guys. They are truly unique and you will love them.
Yes, and we have already mentioned that we're coming up with a mashup of The Batman with
and
something else.
a super sci-fi franchise.
So that's coming
awesome.
soon. And also, we invite you to please subscribe if you enjoy our reviews. Hit that notification and bell button. And don't forget to tune in next time for our next real take on movies, TV shows, and everything cinema.